my last council meeting. After the passing of my husband, Greg. So, on a personal note, I returned to my council seat with a sad and heavy heart. On a professional note, I returned to council to work to represent my community the best I can. On a personal and professional level and note, I also return with gratitude. Gratitude for the outpouring of kind words and caring thoughts, for so many displays of support, for your patience and understanding from community members or residents, from colleagues, and from the people sitting in this room. I want to acknowledge and thank each of you for your kindness and caring, for your support for me and my family, Amy, Randy, Charlie, Talon, and Lawson. And with that, someone took my box of Kleenex. It's like, where are they? But no, I have my own. But with that, I'll have the motion to accept the agenda, adopt the agenda as amended. And I'll give you the amendments first that I have. And we're going to add item 7.4, conversation about healthcare with our healthcare, our Ministry of Health. Oh, thanks. I'm just trying to lighten it up. Thank you. Yes. Do we have any other additions, Ethan?
No.
All right. That's it. 7.4.
So, Mayor Hunter, I would be happy to move to have council accept the agenda as amended and welcome you back to the mayor's seat.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or discussion? Call a vote then, all in favor? That's carried. And I plan my return so I could be here to listen to the RCM first
quarter report, because it's the best report of every quarter. And I really appreciate the report itself and the time that is spent creating it and making sure it gets to council in our community. And we have with us Corporal Shane O'Neill, and he's stepping in for Staff Sergeant Brown. And we're happy to meet you, Corporal O'Neill, and welcome.
Thank you. Hopefully, I'm not quite as good as Steve at presenting stuff, so bear with me for that. I'm going to go through this report. If there's stuff that you guys want have more questions on, please just get me to stop, because I think some of this might be repetitive. But like I said, just get me to stop and I can go over it again. So this is the Q1 2022 report. The data reports the July 27th, 2022. Some community consultations that we've done here in Didsbury. Hopefully you guys have been seeing that. If not, please let us know. We have been meeting with elected officials. We met with the Didsbury Mayor to discuss new reporting structure for downtown businesses and districts, a reporting structure for district occurrences, discuss the modification requirements for a Didsbury detachment building, including additional workspace for membership and support staff. We have attended, I think this is, oh no, that's the next point, sorry, if you keep going down. Enhanced ATV patrols. We have sent our members out for the Victoria Day long weekend. That's been a tradition of ours. We do have our ATVs that we use out in that area to do patrols in the backcountry and to increase visibility for our detachment. We also have more members scheduled for the Victoria Day long weekend just for that purpose. It seems to be our busiest time, so that's why we try to put more resources there. We did have a town hall meeting with members with both Olds and Sundry detachments in the Bergen area. We had residents from all three areas attend. We discussed crime reduction initiatives and youth and high-risk behavior. Unfortunately, we didn't have any concerns brought up to us. One of the major concerns out there was that they want to have more response to livestock reporting and stuff like that. They also had an issue with cars that were involved in collisions going through fences, and then their livestock escaping, and they wanted us to involve them more in the collision aspect of it. So we started a new initiative to put, anytime there's a collision involving a farm area now, we have that property is added to the collision report. In June, we attended the 3025 Service Battalion, Royal Canadian Army Cadet Corps Annual Ceremonial Review. Upon invitation, we presented several awards to the cadets and spoke with family members. Then we go into some of the highlights of our serious investigations, Priority 1 investigations. We've had 7 serious investigations during this reporting period. Domestic assaults with 1 adult charged, domestic violence, another adult charged. In May we had another adult charged in domestic violence and assault causing bodily harm. We had 3 youth charged in June for damage to we had 3 youth skate park charged in Didsbury in June for damage to we also have firearms skate park here breaches and drug charges against 1 adult. We had 12 criminal and provincial offenses. We had another domestic assault in June, and then a mischief charge. Priority 2, intelligence-led drug enforcement. Didsbury RCMP members have been involved in a majority of drug enforcement files, not only in Didsbury area, but the Mountain View County as a whole. Didsbury members use information gathered through the confidential informants as well as through conversation with members of detachment area. Didsbury detachment members are also in constant contact with the district intelligence analyst to allow for the flow of intelligence through the district. The intelligence-led file work and sharing of information has led to many charges related to CDSA files or drug files in the rural areas and the town site of Didsbury and Carstairs. In total, Didsbury detachment members have been involved in 4 large-scale drug trafficking files in the Mountain View County area. It resulted in 40 charges, raised 6 individuals. Didsbury members have also laid 5 other controlled drug-related charges in this quarter. Priority 3, police visibility and traffic enforcement. June 2nd, we had a targeted patrol. That's the mischief I was talking about, where you spray painted the graffiti at the Didsbury skate park. Traffic enforcement on, I don't see the date here, but we had a integrated traffic unit come out and we did a project for impaired drivers. 32 motorists being charged with moving offenses, focused on speed. On 15th Avenue, we've done that. It resulted in 7 tickets being issued to motorists on 15th Avenue as well. These are just some of our stats. Next slide for April and June. Do you want me to go through any of them specifically?
I think just highlight the areas that you think are important in our community. When you're all important, but anything that stands
Since I've been here for a year and a half now. We have seen a decrease in property crime, which is a good trend. We have several individuals that used to live in this community do not live in this community anymore, so that could be part of the reason why they've moved to Olds or Innisfail. We've also had significant jail time sentences issued for those offenders from this area. However, that could change in a couple of years' time when they decide to move back. But for now, we've seen that trend definitely go down. We are still working on property crime, though. It's definitely an issue for us, and involved in drug files as well are a big part of that. We have had more of an emphasis. We are trying to put more of an emphasis on traffic enforcement in the community as well. We've had some new individuals come to our detachment. I think we've had 4 new members in the detachment in the last year, brand new from Depot. So we have been trying to get them into doing more traffic enforcement as well, as part of the learning phase as well. If you go on to the next slide there, we are, as far as the town side, we are fully staffed. We have 4 positions established, 4 working. That includes 1 corporal and 3 constables. So we are fully staffed on that, and that looks good. We have everybody there that we need for the next 3 years. So. Staff Sergeant Brown didn't want me to go into the finances side of things, unless you'd like me to talk about that.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Is there any questions for me?
Councillor McCoy has a question?
Hi, pass on my thanks for such a detailed report. It's really nice to have. One question, when you talked about the strategy when you came in and got all these people on 15th or whatever, how long a period was that over?
Yeah, honestly, we're still doing it. So we're still, even myself, I know that we've been having cars out there regularly on that street, trying to find more drivers that are breaking the law. Unfortunately, myself being out there, it depends on the time of day and when it's happening. We just don't find it as much as I thought we would. I find the drivers here to be pretty responsible, to be honest with you. So,
Which is awesome to hear. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Well, Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. You talked about the Airdrie Innisfail integrated traffic units on the Disbury resulted in 32 motorists being charged. Is that high? Is that what? I mean, it seems high to us, but is it, from your experience, is that a high incidence or is it?
well, part of that project was actually doing Highway 22 and Disbury as well. So that's not a high number for Highway 22. Any of the bigger highways like Highway 22, Highway 2, that's probably a lower number in my experience anyways. I've worked in bigger cities where we'd average 20 to 30 tickets a day just without a project. I worked in a traffic unit too, so that was pretty normal.
Thanks so much, Edith, and for being here to present. And we know that we're well looked after always by our detachment. And thank you for the valuable reports. And thank you and all your detachment, your staff sergeant, your corporals and your constables for all the work they do to keep our community safe. And it is nice to see those areas that, maybe you said the 7 on 15th Avenue, maybe that's because they saw the presence and we are responsible drivers anyway, but once you see, we all know visibility is a big deterrent, right? So thank you for that, and I think that's really a positive move, all the presence of our RCMP in town right now and past and future. So thank you, Corporal O'Neill.
Thank you.
Yeah. Clerk will stay on here. Are you going to make?
Thank you, and thank you to Corporal O'Neill for that. I move that council thank Corporal O'Neill for the presentation of the first quarterly report for April to June 2022 and accept it as information.
Any comments, discussion?
I'll call the vote then. All in favor? It's carried. That's good. We'll put these on the bill. So we have the adoption of the September 13th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council adopt the September 13th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Comments or questions? Councillor Moore? Councillor Moore. Councillor McCoy.
I might have the pre-edited version as a printout, because to me, resolution 440-22 doesn't end, but you might have corrected that, Lou, by now. Like, right, the copy that I got says to approve the principles of the MGA with AT and to commit to. That was corrected. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a motion. Any other comments? I'll call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. We have item 6.1, bylaw 2022-12, campground rates and fees. I think maybe Ethan, we can have Nicole speak to this because there was direction to bring that back and.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So this evening, I'm bringing back revised Rosebud Valley campground rates and fees for council's consideration. So at last meeting, council approved a trial period from October 22 to March 23 for year-round camping at the campground. And so as such, we needed to set some winter camping rates. So we looked into other facilities that are offering these types of services, and there are not a lot in the area. So we spoke with Western RV, who's currently charging $520 a month, plus they are on metered sites, so they're averaging about $150 a month for power consumption. And Balzac Campgrounds, the one just by Cross Iron Mills there, is charging $875 a month, and that's all inclusive of water, power, and sewer. Also to mention, Westerner RV includes water with their service as well. And as council's aware from last meeting, the services that we'll be offering at our campground will just be power services. So, you know, in trying to consider rates, because we've never done this before, we looked at kind of what the summer usage would be at the campground and what the main draws for power would be. And we find that those would be air conditioning units that would be running. In the winter, we expect the main power draws will be extended lighting just due to darker days, as well as more indoor living, so things like televisions and gaming and those types of power uses. We also note that all of the sites that are on the trial period on the inner loop have all been filled. They've been spoken for the season, so that's great news that they're filled. The tenants have worked with Feegs Propane to look at use of having small propane pigs delivered to their sites for the winter use, so they will be using that to heat their units rather than electric heat. So we expect that we would not see the same electrical draw based on them having propane heat for their units. And we also, through this, acknowledge that although they won't have water service to their campsites, that there likely will be an increase on demand for the washroom facility, just because they'll, you know, it will be up to the tenants to decide whether they want to fill and dump their units throughout the winter, and those things are at their own expense. But we do expect that we would see some increased use. However, we also acknowledge that we're only talking about 7 sites rather than the entire campground. So In thinking about all of this, we are proposing a winter camping rate of $650 a month, which is equivalent to the power-only 30 amp summer season rate. We feel that this is fair. We can't we can't expect what the other campgrounds that we've looked at are asking, because we don't have those additional services like water or water and sewer like the other campgrounds are. So we didn't feel that that would be justified. The majority of the costs for the campers to, either fill and dump their units, for the propane, those will be on at their own cost. So we felt that the $650 a month would be a fair trial rate for the 6-month season.
I just want to make a comment to Corporal O'Neill that unless Staff Sergeant Brown told you that you had to stay, listen to this. You're welcome, absolutely welcome. I just don't want you to feel obligated.
I'm interested about the town.
Oh, good.
So
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's good for our MP detachment to know it's open too, so I just wanted to give you some grace that he might have been playing a trick on you.
No,
You never know. Thanks for being here.
Councilor McCoy had a question, I believe.
What is the winter months? I don't remember. Like October to when? Or
To the end of March.
to the end of March?
Yeah, so it's a 6-month period, the trial period is.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Williams.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned that we're the only site in the area that is offering winter?
Yeah, so the two closest that are offering this service is Westerner RV in Red Deer and Balzac, just close to Airdrie. And since there was an article in the newspaper today about council approving this at last meeting, they've had a ton of phone calls, but the sites have already been spoken for. So there is obviously a demand for it.
Councilor Windsor and then Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I believe there are some campgrounds in the area that are privately run that do offer winter opportunities and winter services, and I guess my first question would be then, so were these taken into consideration, or were these looked at when you did your research, and I don't see them reported here?
No, these were the only two that we were aware of, so unfortunately those ones weren't considered.
Go ahead, Councilor McCoy.
I have a quick question, but then I'd like to make the motion. That's all right. Would there be plans, if this was successful, that next year more sites would be available? Because I've had a lot of feedback from people that this is a necessary thing right now during these times.
I think that will depend on how the season goes, and I think it will depend on, our administration's plan is to provide a report after the end of this trial period so that council can kind of understand how it all went. And I think at that point, that may be something that you would wish to consider depending on the success of it.
May I make the motion? I just wanted to mention before making it that based on what I just learned, we would make an additional $31,200 in revenue for running the campground during that period. So that's substantial to me. So I would like to recommend that Council grant first reading to Bylaw 2022-12, Rosebud Valley Campground Rates and Fees.
Okay, questions or comments? Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I appreciate that is a fairly significant revenue generator out of this with all the stalls spoken for, but I still don't see some expense numbers here. I don't see any expense numbers essentially at all. What I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong on this through the chair, is that we're expecting to see a greater use, a higher expense associated with the washrooms and shower facilities, as well as potentially a higher use of power for in-site and lighting. And so I'm not sure that it's reasonable to be charging the same amount the $650 for a 30 amp power stall, when that's exactly what is charged in the summer when it's a completely different picture. So I'm torn on this because I think that it's probably something that's good for the town, but I'm not sure that this reflects prudent business arrangements.
Go ahead, Nicole.
So I went in and had a look in the GLs just to look at kind of what averages we were spending during the summer months. So in thinking about the summer, we're talking about many more sites than the 7 that we're talking about. And so our electrical averages during the summer months are about $1,600 a month. Our gas average is about $200 a month. Water is $175 a month, and the septic average is $1,400 a month, but that is being dumped once a week when there's a higher demand on that system. I would expect we'd see a decrease in the septic. Electric is complicated to try and figure that out, knowing kind of that we're dealing with less units, but probably using comparable power. So all of those costs all in is $33.75 a month. That's based on the averages that I can see for 2022 up to kind of last month, if that's of any help.
I just wanted to say that when reading the RFD, it included the rationale for the keeping the expenses the same. And I think at least for a trial year, it's probably a good idea.
Okay. I'm interested in why is there demand for campgrounds in the winter? Like, is this a new trend, or is this a housing shortage that's creating that we all know is out there? But is it new? Is it something that is evolving everywhere, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is. It is due to housing demand shortages. I think it's due to the cost of housing shortages. Is that a lot of people are able to pay rent, but what's being asked in rent is not affordable to some families. Many of these people own those units, and that is their home, and so they're just looking for somewhere to be able to go to work and live. But I think that things have changed, and just based on inflation and the cost of everything right now, this has become an affordable model for families, and I think that is why we're seeing the demand in it. And to hear today the number of phone calls that were coming in to the campground based on just that article in the newspaper, I think also speaks to that.
Just to follow up for that I'm interested in the pilot for sure and seeing the outcome of that. I'm interested too, though, are we going to become just a trailer park for permanent camping? And that takes away the opportunity to invite new tourists and campers into our community. So that's one thing I'll be asking maybe in the future. It should be concerned that it's all our campgrounds, and well, ours in particular becomes that satellite trailer park, and it does deter other tourism. So I'll ask you again, but you can say anything to that you like.
Sure. I mean, those are definitely things that we consider. I think that the campground serves multiple needs. For sure, it's a draw for visitors to our community. It's for, a place if people have a unit and they just want to be able to get up. There's Didsbury residents that camp at the Didsbury campground just because it's camping. So we don't want to diminish the importance of that, but we also fully recognize that for some individuals or families, this does become a bit of a home for them. And so, when we're looking at a trial, we're looking at it as a trial, and we want to give it a fair chance and to see what it brings. However, administration is also cognizant of all of the different services that the campground should be offering to our visitors, to our community, to our residents. And so, I think that the trial period is a good way to take a good look at this, but also, once that report comes back, or once we're into kind of our regular camping season next year, and council can spend some time after that report comes in to really consider, there are ways of doing it. You set aside only a certain number of sites for this, but, and also when you're looking at revenues, that's a guaranteed revenue, whereas, you know, sometimes the overnight sites are not as guaranteed. So those are all things that council, I think, will want to consider after the trial period. But I think there's ways to approach it to ensure that it meets the needs of everybody that would like to use our campground.
And I just have one final comment that I would raise again too, that it's that a municipality's job to provide year-round housing in a campground. So that will be on my mind as time goes forward. And those are just observations I have right now. Interested in the trial period. Councillor McCoy?
Just one more thought. I happened to be at the interagency meeting this morning, and I learned from almost all of the people attending that there is a distinct shortage of rental properties in Didsbury right now. And because of that, the price of rentals is huge. It's more than a mortgage, and most of those people can't afford it. And so I think it is part of our role to look after the social aspects of our community.
And that's off topic, but it's, you know, a conversation about affordable housing, which is different than the campground rates and fees. So we'll try to stay on topic.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm going to explain that I am going to vote against this because I don't think that we've been given a proper budget for this particular item, and I don't think that the same fee for the summer as the winter is appropriate. So I will be voting against this motion, or this, yeah.
Okay.
And we have a motion on the table for first reading of this, and it's on the rates and fees, and the rates and fees, I guess, correlate with a demand for housing. And I guess if people are looking for housing, and Nicole, just clarify again, Westward Ho has winter camping, but it's private. Is that why it wasn't looked at?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't aware Westford Home had winter camping, so my apologies.
I'm pretty sure it does, but
Okay.
I didn't phone them yesterday, but I'm just, anyway, there's a first reading on the books, and on the table, so I'll call the vote. All in favor of first reading? All opposed? Okay. And we can go on to second reading? Yep.
And the council grants second reading to bylaw 2022-12 Rosebud Valley Campground rates and fees.
And I anticipate there'll be no more questions. We've asked a few. I'll call the vote. All in favor on second reading? That's carried. And now, and opposed? Well, I'm sorry, I just had that in my head that you were opposed, so I apologize. I know you want to get your hand up. That's why I'm here. And we need the motion for unanimous consent to go ahead. Councillor McCoy?
That council grant unanimous consent to proceed for a third reading to 2022-12 Rosebud Valley Campground rates and fees.
All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? So that is defeated, and we will not go to third reading tonight. About what?
Will this interfere with the plans that administration has? Like, do we need to come back to this before October 1st? Because
Well, it's
that's the
October
winter
11th,
camp.
actually. It'll be October 11th. Ethan, do you have a response to that about rates and fees until these are or are not approved?
Yes, so basically barring any new passing of the new bylaw, we'll interpret the existing bylaw as best we can and come up with a rate that we'll charge. So until this new bylaw is passed, we have the existing one in effect that will then interpret and apply as best we can to the situation.
Okay. Thank you.
And that means that we'll bring third reading back to the next meeting on October 11th. All right. We have Disbury Economic Development Advisory Committee bylaw 2022-13. And I believe that, I think we're interested in how this got to the table right now, so we'll
Have a little bit of preamble on it, and then we can have some questions for Alexa if there are any.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll speak to that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So as noted in the RFD, the DDAC committee, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, reviewed the current bylaw. It's a couple of years old, and made some recommendations to administration as to some changes that they felt would be helpful. Administration reviewed the bylaw and their recommendations and made a number of other adjustments, and then in consultation with the committee and their recommendations, we kind of put together a new bylaw that we felt kind of helped to bring it, to improve it and make some simplifications and updates that we felt would be helpful. And now we're bringing it for consideration for first reading.
so do you want first reading at this point, or are you going to defer to Alexa for any supplementary information, or we can make the motion for first reading?
Yeah, you can proceed with first reading.
Okay, so who would like to make that motion? Councillor Deputy Mayor Engel?
I recommend the council grant first reading to bylaw 2022-13 and refer it to the Policy and Governance Committee for further review.
Okay, any comments or discussion? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. There's an awful lot of changes to this bylaw based on what we see here and what's been presented here. And I guess maybe we'll get into the committee level. I'd sure like an explanation as to this. Like, there's a lot of changes, and yeah, I'd like to hear some justification or reasons as to why it was such a significant change to the bylaw. Were we that far off base? We spent a lot of time on this thing.
Could I just maybe supplement that for you, Councillor Windsor, that because the Policy and Governance Committee is going to receive this, well, the information may be valuable to you in the considerations when you're sitting at the table, Councillor McCoy and Councillor Windsor. That would be valuable for the three of you to understand that, or is that what you're after? Because if it's approved, it will go to the PUC or the Policy and Governance, and
That would be fine.
then you would have the information rather than continuing to ask questions. Is that a fair statement? Because usually we just send it to the committee, but if this helps with your background in the committee meeting, I can't stop the question anyway, but I'm just trying to elicit a response that might be helpful. So, do you want to defer to Alexa, Ethan, or do you want to answer questions here? Councillor Windsor has a question on the table. Councillor McCoy, will be next.
Yeah, we both.
Yeah, so we'll have Alexa speak just a little bit to the background with the committee wanting to do a review of it.
So we started that process back in May and reviewed the entire bylaw, and it was felt that there are a lot of terminologies were not addressed, a lot of challenges that were, for example, not addressed. You see, for example, in the first part of the definitions, we didn't even have a definition of the chair. We didn't have a definition of the economic development officer. And it is just because also when it was put in place, an economic development officer was not in place at this point in time. There were certain things that we felt were obsolete and would not fit the current way we proceed with some of our meetings. It's including, like, for example, simplifying the task of the advisory committee. The membership was like one of the major things that we wanted to review and actually update, so that we have a little bit more flexibility, for example, with the youth members, or for example, that all of the members are able to vote instead of having executive members that are not able to vote and just sit there, such as, for example, the president or the Chamber of Commerce, I mean, is an executive of the board and should be able to sit on the board and should also be able to vote. We felt that was an important part. And it is really difficult sometimes to get volunteers for the committee, and we have in the original, just to give you an example, it says like 2 executive members of the chamber are supposed to sit on there, plus the executive as the president. So it stated a challenge because we couldn't get, for example, 2 of the executives, but we basically had 2 executives with the president. And so we wanted to change some of the things that makes it easier, the makeup of it. We also want to contain the number of, it was quite broad, how many members this committee could have. And we felt that a certain number is manageable, especially when we're looking at workshops and such, and everybody having input and so on. If we have a broad spectrum of industry at the table, it should be sufficient, and it's a 2-year term, so new people have also the opportunity to actually be part of it. Another part of the of this bylaw is the nature of the meetings where those motions that come forward to council as a recommendation, and that is then it is becoming public information. So a lot of times when we discussing concepts and ideas and projects, those things could be taken out of context and just by the public taken as if this is a move forward, and would actually generate more confusion and more something that the people think that is a go-ahead, even though it has not been brought forward to council. So there sometimes would not be the understanding that this is just a concept and just ideas that are bounced around what we could do, things that could be explored. So that explains part in some of those changes that we made. We also wanted to make more suggestions for industries that are important to Didsbury that should be included and should have the opportunity. Of course, every industry has the opportunity, but we wanted to really capture most of the industries that would be beneficial to serve on this committee. So there's a total, I believe, of 14 members. Yeah. And also we had, for example, challenges with where we have resignations and removals were not properly outlined, and what happens when there is a vacancy that occurs mid-term. Usually we get like new people on board when there's an organizational meeting in October. So we try to simplify those things, also removing red tape, so we are a little bit more flexible. Yeah.
So I have a question. Do you believe the changes will encourage more applications? Do you believe they will encourage more applications based on the changes? I think it'd be...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Pardon me?
Oh, I said I would be happy to amend my motion. If we're going to do a deep dive into this at the moment, we can send it to committee or we can examine it now. That's fine comment.
Well, we are sending the questions are welcome from the deputy mayor. And I'm interested when it goes, when we're explaining the intent of the changes, does that encourage, I believe they will encourage more participation from our volunteer corps and the industries and sectors out there. And I can't, you don't have a glass ball, I know that. I'm just asking if you think that they are going to be helpful, because I think that would be important for the board and the community.
I think it provides more flexibility. I think there's a potential that more people are interested because they maybe understand that there's a lot of concepts and ideas will be explored, and it might be of greater interest than just having something that is maybe perceived as just governance of sorts.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, are there other questions? Go ahead.
I was just, as our Deputy Mayor Engel mentioned, that maybe Councillor Windsor might be more comfortable if we just send it to the committee to start with and then brought it back first and second, third reading, whatever. It's just a suggestion.
And I give the explanation as to why we were going to just explore it a bit more for the committee when they go. And I think that's a fair explanation, and I don't think there's any deterrent to conversation or discussion or questions at our table. So sidebars are discouraged, though, if we could stop those. So are you satisfied with that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Windsor? And Alexa, you've said you've given us information that we grilled you on, apparently. So is that, I'm happy with your answers. They've certainly, I had a discussion with our CEO about this bylaw, so I'm happy with the answers. And we have our first reading on to send to PEC, no, to Policy and Governance. That would be the right committee, and I will call the vote.
Sorry. Mayor Hunter, it sounds like you have more information than the rest of us. Could you share with us what you learned from CAO?
Actually, no, I can't, because I was in a meeting with the CEOs I do weekly, so I'll leave it at that. I asked a question of them, and it wasn't in depth, and I think you know, Councillor McCoy, that I meet with our CEO every week, and we touch on some things that aren't always brought to light. They come to the agenda, and it's on the agenda right now, so I think that's fair. So again, I will call the vote. All in favor of first reading? Carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to maybe something a little less time-consuming than bylaws and as such, and that would be Parkland Regional Library System's budget, which is excitingly only $52 higher, but we still are paying for 200 residents we don't have. Anyway, I'll have a motion, if I could.
I don't know how to do this name.
What was the motion we made? Sorry, we made a motion last year that we agreed to accept the 2020-21 rates for Parkland Regional Library. I think that we did something like that. We would accept a budget of just, if it won't be negative, but we don't have to do that. If someone wants to make the motion to pass the rates, then please do. Oh, well, here it is. You can just finish the second motion too. We would communicate the following principles: that we're satisfied with the federal census being used for numbers, and I think if I'm reading that right, that's what we've been talking about all along, is Parkland charging us Treasury Board rates, which is 200 more people than we actually have in our community. So we would communicate to them that we're happy to pay according to the census of 2021.
Yes.
I just would suggest that.
I will make that motion if that's acceptable.
So you want to read it all?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'll stumble through it and we'll see where we end up, okay? So I'll move that we accept the Parkland Regional Library System proposed 2023 budget as information, and that Mayor Hunter respond with a letter on behalf of council communicating the following principles. Well, it's essentially one, that our rates should be based on the 2021 population census numbers, the same funding as the same basis that the funding for municipalities.
That our provincial government provides. Municipalities.
Yes,
It's based on the
government
census.
provides.
You probably got all that right, Joanna? And while she's doing that, there is a bit of background on that with Parkland and the action that some of our communities want to present and move forward. It's been on MAP and asking Parkland, not asking, expecting Parkland to go back to the census numbers the same way we're funded by our provincial government and the federal government for that matter. Do you have anything to add to that? Councillor Windsor is our rep for Parkland Regional Library.
Just that the Zone 9 representatives are thank you, Mayor Hunter, are still working towards what needs to get done to change the membership agreement so that there is no ambiguity as to what the population number is based on. We had an interesting conversation with the mayor of Sundre the other night, and he was saying it didn't matter. And the fact is it does matter, because if somebody is estimated to have more numbers, more population, greater population than what they actually have, and someone else is estimated to be lower, then one is subsidizing the other. And it's a matter of transparency and accuracy. And we should all be using the same numbers right from top to bottom. And so,
Are you ready to that? Are you ready? And then Councillor McCoy after Lana.
So moved by Councillor Windsor to accept the Parkland Regional Library System 2023 budget as information, and that the mayor respond with a letter on behalf of council communicating the following principles: that the funding be based on the same population rates used by the provincial government.
that's good. Should be principal center.
Yeah,
Any other discussion on that? Oh, Councillor McCoy had a question.
All right. Yes.
We wait and see if the motion was ready. Okay. Well done, Lana. We appreciate you. Your quick grabbing of our all over the place. Councillor Deputy Mayor?
So, we know this is an issue where we get funding for, and these numbers aren't accurate, and I'll make sure you understand they're not accurate. We get funding from the provincial government for 4 people, but we pay for 6. Where is Parkland on these discussions? What is their stance? Are they just drawing a line in the sand and saying, that's it, that's what you pay?
Yes, Councillor Windsor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. They essentially are drawing a line in the sand and saying that actually they went to legal counsel to find out what legal counsel said about using the Treasury Board numbers, as opposed to what our membership agreement says, what our membership agreement says, the membership agreement that all municipalities signed with Parkland to be part of the Parkland library system, says that they use the numbers that are published on Municipal Affairs website. And Municipal Affairs website says don't use these numbers, use Treasury Board. So they got a legal interpretation to say that yes, it's okay for us to use the Treasury Board numbers. And that's not consistent with what the membership agreement says that the municipalities have signed. Further to that, since we are looking at changing the membership agreement and trying to get this all sorted out so that it is the numbers that we're using from the provincial government funding formula, is that we've asked what exactly do we have to do to change the membership agreement so that this stands and this is accurate. And we've been in hold for about 6 weeks now waiting for them to get a legal opinion on what the membership agreement says for amending the membership agreement. So the executive have drawn a line in the sand and said, we're doing this, and that's all there is to it.
Councillor McCoy?
I have another question, even though this seems off topic, because we're voting on approving the dollars. However, like, why are they different?
That's a provincial government.
Well, yeah, the reason they're different is because the municipal affairs website says that they are going to be moving to the Treasury Board numbers, and so that everybody should use the Treasury Board numbers except themselves, except the provincial government. They're the only ones that they say shouldn't be using the Treasury Board numbers, or no, they don't even say that. They say everybody should, but then they don't follow through with it themselves.
Further to that question, if that's the case, wouldn't we be better off talking to the municipal affairs about this rather than Parkland?
But, well, you can, but right now the issue at hand is this motion, because we want to make the statement to Parkland. And I think there is information coming about that, but not at this point. And I'm just going to answer that for you, yes. We should be talking to municipal affairs, and yes, we will be with our colleagues as a group, but we have to form that committee and that initiative and get that on the table. So right now we just like to make the statement to Parkland. And I think we said it early when this all started, was it's just like anybody that bills us for things now can just bill us however much they want, and we have to pay it. And I disagree with that principle. And we need to draw our line in the sand too, that we have to be dealt with fairly by such organizations. And they have to follow through the membership agreement. So, other questions or comments? I'll call the vote then. All in favor? That's carried. Planning and development orientation. This should be easy, right?
Wait till you see the survey results.
Well, tell us what they are.
Oh, sorry.
Because we need to pick the date.
Yes. So we didn't hear from 3. So based on the 4 responses we have, there was 3 that could make 2 of the dates. So yeah, there wasn't any of the 3 dates that everyone of the 4 respondents could all make. So there was 3 that could make one date, 3 that could make another date, 3 that could make the other date.
And only 3 answered.
Well, there was four respondents, but just there was overlap as to who could make what. So I guess the option is you just pick a date, or do you want us to see if we can get some more date options?
Councillor Ingle, Deputy Mayor Ingle has a question.
So, obviously I know what I picked. And one of them wasn't Monday. However, am I able to zoom in on that night? Because if I can, the problem is I'm just out of town. But I will have access to be able to zoom in on that night. And if we can zoom in at all to the meeting, then I can attend whatever nights they are. I would be open for any night then.
But it's not like that's the night everyone's wanting and you're the only one that couldn't do it. There was just as much. Yeah. So it wouldn't necessarily. So if this group has a date that maybe the 5 here.
Okay.
Councillor,
go ahead, a question first, and then I think Councillor Windsor.
I just want to know if I forgot to submit, because I think I did it, but did I do it?
And no. And I wasn't David Gage.
She brought that up.
And the 2 that aren't here, we didn't get a response from either. So if the 5 here can we agree on date, it might work for the other 2.
We'll have to.
Yeah. So we have a motion coming, I think, from
Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that council set Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. for the Planning and Development Orientation Municipal Development Plan Commencement Workshop.
I will not be there.
Okay, so let's change that then. Let's make a friendly amendment.
I
Thursday, October 20th.
Thursday, October 20th for everybody?
Yeah.
If we're all here and we all
So
agree
I
on that
amended
date?
my motion, Lou.
Okay, 20th?
Yeah.
And speaking of the two councillors that are absent, they did send their regrets, and I apologize, I had that on my notes to mention that we did notice they weren't here, and they did send their regrets, so. So we have a motion for Thursday, October 20th, 6 to 8:30. All in favor? That's carried. Appointments to Disbury Economic Development Advisory Committee, item 7.3.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council appoint Brooke Murky as a regular member to the Disbury Economic Development Advisory Committee. You want both motions in this?
Yeah, we'll do them separate.
Okay.
Any discussion? Call the vote, all in favor? We should discuss these in public. Just, because there's, anyway, it's pretty easy because you're already on the advisory. So,
Second motion, Councillor.
Thank you. I move that council appoint Phil Bouchard as the new regular member to the Disbury Economic Development Advisory Committee.
All right, any comments, questions? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. Great. And we have item 7.4, the conversation about healthcare in Alberta. And I had registered for Thursday, but we were in Calgary at convention, and luckily an engagement came up tomorrow in Airdrie, so asking for input of municipal leaders at these engagements. And we have a motion, we don't have to take two, but if there's a second person that would like to go, it's tomorrow.
Short notice? Yeah, short notice, I'll make it.
Okay, would you like to go? Deputy Mayor? Yeah. Councillor McCoy?
I'm busy.
Okay. So at this point then, we will appoint me, I hope. That would be in the motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that Mayor Hunter attend the conversation about healthcare in Alberta session on Wednesday, September 28, 2022 in Airdrie.
All right. Call the vote then. All in favor? Is there something interesting going on?
I was just reading the motion.
Oh, good. It's on your phone too.
Well, it's not computers.
Okay. Oh, really? That's too bad. That's carried anyway. Thank you. Okay. Before we close though, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to say our reports. I was looking that we were really on time tonight, but okay, we have the CEO report. Are there any questions about the CEO report? Ethan?
do you have anything to add to the CEO report?
Nothing happened since you wrote it that could be interesting and exciting?
I do have some information about the 21st Street project that Craig was preparing to present. As our usual, we often do a kind of verbal update on some of our projects of interest, and I'm standing in for Craig at this time. So, yes, I've gotten really handsome all of a sudden. So the project did experience some setbacks due to rain, some rain delays, as well as some, I know there is some interest from the public. We're getting asked about this project, which is going a bit over. There was also some issues with some of the utilities that are in the ground that they've discovered that are more complicated than they anticipated them being, which has created some added lag time with navigating those utilities and telus ducts, as well as there's also been some issues with some of the water valves that are not functioning properly. So there's been a bunch of stuff that has arisen while the contractor's been doing the project, which has caused some delays. Some updated estimated timelines are that we're anticipating the deep utilities to be completed by October 3rd, as well as asphalt being placed by the 3rd week of October.
I can't promise I can answer any questions.
The asphalt's by October 3rd, you said?
Yeah, sorry.
The asphalt by the 3rd week of October.
I know,
Sorry,
I was
did
trying
say
to
that?
catch him up here,
Is that what you said?
because I didn't expect to hear that, but thank you for the update, Councillor McCoy.
The calls I've been getting and emails, basically, no one's been working there for days now. So I'm not sure how October 3rd all this will get done when there's been nobody there since Friday at least.
I can't speak to that, the accuracy of that or not, or.
That's fair, yep. Councillor Windsor and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm wondering if in the contract we had late penalties.
Again, I don't have information that I could speak to on that, as well as I don't have the information with regards to whether the setbacks are due to contractor issues or if they're just due to just things that happen when you do projects that arise that you can't be controlled or anticipated, and you work through them as best you can. So again, I don't have a lot that I can speak to on that, because the one who was going to speak to it had a sudden inability to be here. So.
You had to go and open that water line,
He's
perhaps.
he's digging right now on 21st.
And I'm not making light of the question, it's a good one. And is it, we are going to anticipate having that information? And there would have to be a motion for that. If there's a motion to bring back information that council is after, then that'll have to be made. And in the meantime, Councillor McCoy has a question.
You might say it's off topic, but I don't believe it is. There's like a fire line running from 23rd towards there. Is that their water that they need for doing their work? For all summer there was a cord there.
I know, it's an
Yeah.
operational question,
Yeah.
but I would suggest.
And a lot of these Craig would be able to speak to.
Right.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
Again, we're in that season right now that things arise.
Well, and I think it's fair that we want, my biggest concern would be budget overruns and the reasons for them. And obviously if it is contractor responsibility or if it's towns because our underground infrastructure is an issue, that would be my concern as a council member. And you have something to say?
I'll make a motion, if I may.
Well,
And then,
can we make that after this here report for Sept, I believe?
certainly.
Yeah. Because we can't have no motion on the sewer report before we can pass that, and then we can, coming out of the sewer report, we haven't had that motion to accept this information, so, are there any other questions on,
Is anybody else getting calls? I'm wondering, is everybody calling councillors about this issue? And the 2030 line is the number that they are supposed to be calling. Because we have the same answers we have the answers that we get at our council table, and if residents are after answers, then 335-2030 is recommended. We are generally go between Craig and his operational issues, and we get updates as they can be presented. So Go ahead, Councillor McCoy.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but now that you've asked that question, I have had numerous emails and calls, including one from the website, like an email directly from the website. And
Numerous.
I said numerous phone calls
No,
and
I'll leave
emails. I didn't count, quite a few. Anyways, speaking on their behalf and my own, I guess, is that people did try to call the 2030 line. They were given a great response by Catherine at the front desk. Anyways, the front desk gave them a great answer and said, as far as we're aware, September 30th, and then they said, I'll put you through to Public Works. That was Monday. And those people have not yet received a phone call, and I believe that's why they got back to me again.
Ethan, is there, once all this information is compiled, and I know we have a great communications person that is, I mean, there's been great information on updates on our projects. There's one there right now, and they come as timely as they can on our website, I believe, based on the information that Craig can compile and put on there. So I think 2030 is a good answer. Absolutely checking our website for construction updates is another great answer. And I have to support our administration that we always don't have immediate answers for everybody, because it's more complex than Craig just saying it's going to be October 3rd or 3 weeks, because we know what happened even with, and I'm not off topic, because on the 23rd Street project, when it collapsed after the fact, and those things are unforeseen, and we don't want to anticipate them, but we want to be fair in the updates that we can get. Right now, we have a timeline of the 3rd week of October, so is that a fair answer right now that we can provide to all the people that are not phoning me, but that are phoning other people?
Well, and we'll also, Mayor, because obviously these aren't things we want to have happen. These are often things that are related to stuff beyond our control, but we're going to put together some information and put out some graphic and information on the website to help people understand what's going on, because there has been interest. We have been getting calls at the office, and people are interested in that, and so we'll put together some information that would be helpful to the public so that they understand what's going on. I mean, even if it's stuff we can't help, at least people can understand what's happening and what the new timelines are. So.
That's good. Anything else in the CR report that we'd like to discuss? Okay, then I'll motion to accept the CR report's information. Councilor McCoy?
Oh, you want to make that?
Sure.
The council moved to accept the CAO report for September 27th, 2022 as information.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? That's carried.
And I know when I listened in on some meetings of council, I must remember to turn my mic on, as we all must, and speak into it, otherwise people cannot hear.
I forget.
So I'm just reminding myself too, because mine's been off. So consider yourself reminded too.
John's not here, he usually calls the mic.
Are we in another motion?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter, but based on the commitment that our CAO has made about updating the website, I will not make an additional motion.
Okay.
So it would be way more discussion and then we'd be late again. Okay, so we have councillor reports. I don't know who had the most exciting 2 weeks. Speak first. Councillor Williams, I just believe that you did.
Oh, I did. So as myself and some of my other colleagues just got back from Alberta Municipalities, the new name. Looked at you because I know you love that name, Council Winter. I will have more to report on that at the next meeting. I'm still working on my report. I do want to share, I went to the Veterans Banners ceremony at the Disbury Museum on this past Sunday, which was very well attended. They only expected to have 10 people show up. They had quadruple that in the short span that they did. It was beautiful to see all the veteran banners, the new ones for this year. Also, I was asked by the Disability Museum to share some exciting news from them. Since last year, they've basically quadrupled the number of guests that have came through the museum. And so I think that's amazing, just because of all the events that they've put together. So I think kudos to them for increasing the foot traffic that's going through a wonderful museum. That's all I have to report, so I'll pass it along to Councilor Windsor.
Oh, see, this is what I'm saying, that was very good. Thank you. That's really good news for the museum. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter.
Councilor Williams, passing.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I've got quite a few committees to report on, so I'll try to muscle through them. RDR MUG is working with WaterSmart to update their water management plan for the South Saskatchewan Basin. This includes the Red Deer River, the Bow River, and the Old Man River system. And the significant part of this is that finally the Red Deer River contingent is going to have an actual equal voice to the Bow River and the Old Man River representatives, which we have not had before for a number of reasons, but mostly because they were far more organized. The Bow River and Old Man contingent were far more organized and more informed than the Red Deer contingent, and the Red Deer contingent kind of got wiped out. So this is a really, really positive thing, and I'm really excited about what's going to come out of it, because it's going to mean a lot for Red Deer and the reservation of water for municipal use and development use over the next little while, over the next 50 years, essentially. So that's what's exciting at RDR MUG. Waste management, the budget is going to be coming to council here before the end of the month. It comes to administration, and we'll see it probably in October, the first meeting. There will be a slight increase in fee-for-service, and that all has to do with mitigating risk because of the significant increase in costs and the pressures on landfills at this particular point in time. We are approving a nominal fee increase in the tipping fee, and the reason for that is that we don't want to price ourselves out of the commercial market, because that's where 70% of the revenue comes from. So it's going to cause a slight increase in the fee for service for the member municipalities, but we're mitigating risk with that is the hope. The other thing that's coming out of RDR, or out of Waste Commission, is that we're going to be sending out a survey.
Can I just have a quick recess?
Okay.
As you all know. Hold your thought, please.
Certainly.
Stop the timer.
Just one more.
Probably a woman follower, because she goes in the walk. Election is called.
Good.
So, Waste Commission will be sending out a survey here shortly to the member municipalities to discuss recycling. Essentially what's happening, and not recycling like the blue bins we have in our communities, but the recycling centers, 7 of them throughout the district. And essentially what we're doing is paying 60% of our fee for service to haul recyclables that aren't being recycled to the landfill. And so there will be a survey coming to councils the member municipalities to get their feel on exactly what it is that they are expecting out of their recycling centers and whether they want to continue to operate them or whether they want to get that off of the plate of the commission, and if the municipalities want to have their own, then they can do their own, and it's off the commission's plate and off of the member responsibility. That's waste. Parkland Regional Library, obviously the budget was before us, and the Zone 9 members kind of agreed that we were going to not approve that budget because of the principle. And again, back to the membership, we'll be working on the membership as soon as we find out from Parkland and their legal counsel what exactly we have to do to amend the membership agreement. On a lighter note and more fun note, I attended the regimental ball on Saturday night, which was very formal and very posh. It was a wonderful experience. We haven't been since I think 2012. And it was nice to be reminded of the officers in scarlets and the protocol that they go through in celebrating their service. So that was really nice. And then last but not least was the AUMA convention that some of my colleagues and I attended. And after having come back from that, and I haven't started working on my report because it's a pretty dismal report, I'm really going to prompt a discussion, I hope, with regard to the value of going to AUMA. Because essentially it seems to be that we're doing the administrative work and we're no longer given the opportunity to learn and to be at sessions that will give us information that will help our municipality. Thank you, Mayor Hunter.
One question? So there's a waste question. And I know the PEC committee looked at the problem of grass and leaves. And is there any chance in the future that the Waste Commission may look at providing some sort of place for grass and leaves? I'm getting, the last few weeks have been sort of an inundation of calls, and I know I was one of the guys that has an issue because of lot size, and I was able to find a solution, but not everyone can. So I'm just sort of asking on behalf of some people, is if that is something that they may look at, or that's completely off the table.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Our license doesn't allow us to do compost. Yeah, we can't have compost per se on the site, and so we can do branches that isn't considered to be compost, but we can't do compost. Having said that, and I didn't include it in my report, and I should have, we had a presentation from a German company that is looking at, they've actually signed a letter of intent with the town of Innisfail to do a waste to energy project. And they're looking at 100,000 tons of garbage a year to feed this unit, this process, to generate energy. What they're hoping to find is a location where they can co-locate with an enterprise that uses low energy steam, because that's the most efficient way that they can market their byproducts. They can do it through electricity, but it's only about 33% efficient. So that will be in your external reports. The presentation we received at Waste Commission about the waste to energy project that they're talking about, which would handle compost, that'll be in your external reports for next meeting.
I went to convention and
I think the highlight of that was our engagement with Minister of Municipal Affairs, Minister of Transportation, and K Division. And so we had some interesting conversations with them, and we always look forward to those engagements. I do want to highlight, we've got two leads on the CPAC. now. So we're pretty excited that we may very well have a presentation on forming an effective Community Policing Advisory Committee, and in consultation obviously with Staff Sergeant Brown. And I think, I'm sorry, I'm going to speak for you, Councillor Williams, you went to the regimental ball too.
Yes.
And you missed that. Because you had some other exciting information. But. So that was, I think, the highlight of Alberta municipalities. Plus, we met with our colleagues and had a really good discussion with 2 other municipalities. So, Deputy Mayor.
As promised, I had meetings. So last meeting I couldn't report because I hadn't had any, but now I've got a report. And congratulations to the museum. That's one of my committees that I miss dearly. So we had a chamber meeting on the 14th at 7 p.m. And one of the highlights that came out of that was the Sundance College that is partnered with the Didsbury Chamber of Commerce. And the Commerce is really, really excited to be bringing curriculum and student funding to Didsbury.